There we go. Steven Lafford is in the house. Stephen, welcome
Hello.
to the Strive podcast. Strive for more, be your best. That's what we're all about here. Um, how are you?
I am good. Thank you so much for having me. I know we go way back. We know
Yeah,
each other fairly well already, but it's good to, I suppose, be in a place where we can have chats about all things striving as well.
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I think it's about like doing 6 years now. Do we know each other about 6 years?
Oh, something, yeah, something. Yeah,
Yeah,
whenever I move down to Waterford, I feel like I've been here now all my life, and I don't remember what Clonmel looks like anymore. But yeah, I don't know how long, but yeah, it's been a while. It's long enough, as they say.
absolutely. Yeah. So Steve, you're welcome to the show. Obviously, yeah, we go way back, and like, there's a couple of questions that I wanted to ask you. So I'll just kind of jump straight in and ask you kind of a fairly basic one. So if you want to just tell listeners, viewers, whoever, a little bit about yourself, your background, where what you've been doing up until now, your career, all that jazz. I'll hand it over to you.
Deadly. Okay, so if you're hearing me for the first time, hi, my name is Steve. I am a jack of all trades, master of none. I have quite an extensive background in so many different areas, but right now I work in the nutrition space as a body image coach and a relationship with food coach. Before that, I was a professional actor. I was a trained actor in Dublin, and yeah, that was a career that I thought that it was like I put all my eggs in the basket, when I was 7 years old, and I was like, that's it, I'm going to be an actor for the rest of my life. And went off and did that. And it got so far to a point where it wasn't that it wasn't being fulfilled, but very hard to earn a living from. And my life
Yeah,
was changing as I was getting older. And I was also working in retail, like back in the day. And then it got to a point where I just wanted to explore other interests and hobbies that I had at the time. And one of those was fitness and exercise. I gotten into CrossFit when I was, I don't know, 19, I think it was. I'm 34 now. So,
CrossFit.
CrossFit. But I got into that, I think, when I was 19, and was quite hooked to it. There was nothing that was like that. I had no interest in field sports when I was younger. It never interested me to just watch a ball go left and right. Now looking back, I'm like, okay, there's way more to it than that. Like my the younger version of me thought it was boring. I did parkour for years. Like it was always a kind of extreme adrenaline style stuff. So parkour and CrossFit was right up my street. I just from that background wanted to get into health and fitness and explore more of that. And the more I got into that, the more I felt, right, this is the right place for me. Being in like retail and stuff, I've always been all is the word altruistic, like wanting to help people. I've always been interested in helping other people from the thing that they're struggling with. Because back in the day, for me, when I was working in retail, it was making sure that the mum got the perfect Christmas present for her kid. But now it was like, cool, how do I help people change their health and change their fitness for long-term health? So yeah, got into fitness when I went back to college as a mature student in, I don't know, 2017, 2018. And yeah, that kind of developed to where I am now. And we can talk about that if you like, with a little bit more nuance.
Yeah. So obviously you've coached in gyms and stuff for quite a while. Well, I know you're not doing it at the moment, but you have over the years. And what's your experience been like that, like overall of that overall? Sorry.
Yeah. So when I came out of college, then I wanted to start working in a gym. And I did work in like a commercial based kind of gym with classes in it. And then I also worked in a CrossFit gym. And like my experiences of those has been, quite positive. It was so important to be on the floor and have that kind of connection with people, like, like simple things that, well, what we would consider to be simple, like
Mm.
hinging patterns, or bent over rows, and then going into more complex stuff like clean and jerks, like, in the CrossFit space. you know if you are so kind of well versed in it, and your body is just doing it without thinking, it's very different to being on the floor and having to communicate that effectively with, or to, like, with somebody, I suppose, that's standing in front of you. So it was so good and, like, incredibly beneficial to have that experience. I still do like one-to-one PT now in my own space, because I don't train, or I don't coach the CrossFit stuff anymore. But it was really, really good to get the information, I suppose, in the college setting, but then be able to actually just get out, like, onto the floor, start applying it, and learn that you're not always going to be great at it, but
Mm.
it's a never ending practice of learning to communicate, because every single person that you meet is different. Every single person that you meet on the
Yeah.
floor, communicates, I suppose, and understands things in different ways. So it's just about being able to kind of, yeah, meet whatever is on the floor in front of you, and be able to work with that. So that was probably like the most interesting part for me, I think.
Yeah, everyone has a different story where they're coming from and why they're in the gym.
Yeah, like, so many people. I mean, like, with the way things are now, health and fitness is certainly, I think, more prevalent, more mindful, like, in people's minds now, than it was, let's say, 15 years ago. I don't have the data, but I can assume, just from being there and seeing it, that the amount of people that go to the gym, and how young people are also going to the gym as well,
Mm.
is going to be on the rise. But yeah, people go to the gym for various reasons, and sometimes I think people go to the gym because they feel like they should be going to a gym,
Because
and
it's
that's
what
not.
everyone else is doing.
Yeah, a little bit of that.
Mm.
Like, just even through, like, market research, I was doing just like a little bit of researching and stuff around my area of relationship with food and stuff. And I do see comments of people saying, well, I know I should be in the gym. And, like, that's an interesting conversation in itself, because we we don't necessarily have to be in a gym. There are so many
Mm.
people that are like that have, lived around cross country. They've grown up with cross country sport of
Yeah.
running. They've like, I mean, okay, cool. They might do some strengthy stuff in a gym, but that's not their base. That's not their foundation.
Yeah.
Like, they're outdoors. There's people who like hiking. There's people who like, indoor climbing, bouldering. Fitness doesn't necessarily have to be in the gym space. It's
Mm.
creative. Like, I mean, like, I started doing parkour, which was out on the streets. um,
On the streets.
that sounds way more gangster than it was. We were the we
Yeah.
were the absolute rejects of society. Everyone thought we were
Parkour.
weird. Yeah, 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 yeah. And, like, it's mocked, but, like, there was some
It is cool though.
incredibly well. I mean, there was some incredible physical feats. Like, some of the
Yeah.
stuff that I saw people doing, like, let's just say, like, from the sciencey stuff, from a plyometric standpoint, from an explosive power standpoint, from a precision
Mm.
standpoint, from, like, agility, and, like, yeah, there was some incredible stuff there. So, and again, that was outside the gym space. I
Yeah.
developed, I think, a lot of my foundational strength from that work before I even stepped into a gym at all. I think I was very late to the gym, to be honest. That's where I got a lot of my base from.
Mm. Yeah. No, and yeah, it's cool. It's cool. Like you mentioned, like there's like people younger and younger starting to go to the gym. Like I kind of see, when I go to the gym, sometimes it could be in the evening, and like there's kids in school uniforms coming in and stuff, and like I feel like you never really used to see that. like a what like up until a couple of years ago maybe.
Mm.
But it's cool though, and like I suppose you kind of you hope they're going for the right reasons though, as well. Like you said, like you hope they're not just um going because they feel they have to go. It's almost like when you're a kid, you had to go to mass. You're told you have to go to mass. That's how it is. Or, you know what I mean? So you kind of hope it's not that thing. You hope it's um
I
you
think
know
sometimes, yes, the gym is quite literally the mecca. You know what I mean?
yeah
Like the current, or like the older generation and mass, it's kind of the same thing. But like, I suppose in the work that I do around kind of the psychology, body image, relationship with food, like body image, if people who are listening don't know, is quite literally just the perception that you have of your body, what you see, and what you think and how you feel about that, and how that influences your decision making around your health behaviors. So I was doing research on this because I go to schools and I do workshops with teenagers and stuff. Um, Children as young as 6 years old start developing issues with body image. I just have some data here. 40 to 50% of children ages 6 to 12 report dissatisfaction with their body. 40%, 45% of children and teens have body image issues overall. And then as it goes into like secondary school, like the guys you're talking about coming in the uniforms, um, roughly 45% of them feel that their body um, doesn't match the ideal, and 55%, oh, sorry, the other way around. 45% feel that it does match their ideal, but 55% want to change. So
yeah
there's a large number of young people who, are becoming, I suppose, more and more dissatisfied with what they look like. And it makes so much sense because if you look on TikTok or you look on social media, if your thing that you follow, your fixation is going to be around like that thing, like
yeah
bodybuilding or fitness and health, and then your whole viewpoint is just that, and you don't see anything
yeah.
else, it is incredibly hard not to attach yourself to that and reflect on yourself, like in that area. So, you know
What do you think the ideal body image is for these kids that in their head? What do you think they're thinking needs to be the ideal?
Well, you see, the thing about body image is that it's not about what's ideal, really. There's no, because again, that's almost assuming that there's a perfect way to be, or there's a certain way to be.
Yeah,
It's about having the ability to step back and sometimes, reflect on your thoughts and add a little bit more nuance to it. So seeing someone lift heavier and then start looking at your body and equating the fact that you can't lift that to what you look like, as an example, when
yeah,
really it's not as much about what you look like at all. It's actually about, the progressive overload and the training and the actual strength work that goes into being able to lift that weight. But body image and the feeling that we have about ourselves can easily hijack that. So again, it's not about necessarily having this perfect image or perception of ourselves, but learning to be able to separate, I suppose, what's real and what's maybe irrational, if that makes sense.
yeah.
So
Gotcha.
yeah.
Do you find from like your work and your research that there's um a specific like does one gender over the other have more kind of issues around body image, or is it kind of an even split, or what way do you see it?
Yeah, I don't have like the specific data at the minute, but it was something I was reading yesterday from, there was a meta-analysis around it, that a lot of males, is sometimes the actual male demographic in these meta-analyses is actually stronger than the female demographic, because it's assumed that it's women who struggle with what they look like.
Mm.
But it is also equally, and sometimes if not more, what how men struggle too. But of course, a big part of our culture doesn't maybe allow that. We don't feel that it's safe. We don't feel that it's okay to have that expression. And I heard something incredible. It was around the eating disorder awareness week about 2 or 3 weeks ago. There was the idea that sometimes men date other men. And this is an
Okay.
interesting concept. I was like, it
Yeah.
caught me. I was like, wait, hold on a second. What? Men sometimes in gyms maybe working out to look a certain way to attract women, but probably spending more time in the gym working out, watching to see if other men are looking at them going, fucking look at this guy training. So like
Yeah.
there is a whole psychology I think around that of, being constantly aware and I suppose effectively worrying about what other people think. And
Yeah.
yeah, that can be, I suppose, something that again hijacks the original motive of I'm coming here to just be stronger, to feel good, to perform
Yeah.
well. And again, like it's not like this is not necessarily like a universal issue. It's not every single person that steps into a gym space has this struggle,
Yeah.
but every single person has a body image. If you look at yourself,
Yeah.
you see what you look like, and you have something to say about it, you have a body image. And it's just about the nuance of the things that you do and how those things compound over time to make you feel a certain way, and whether or not that is helpful or harmful to what you're doing, like your health behaviors or something like that.
Yeah, and like I suppose from for me personally, I can definitely relate to that, because I suppose like going back to even when I was small in school, and I wasn't overweight. I wasn't a skinny kid. I was kind of, one of those in the in the middle. I think the old Irish term is the puppy fat. I don't.
Mm, mm.
It's a weird term now that I think about it, but yeah, that was kind of what it was known as. I still played sports and all that, but my main point was I did get teased about like I got called fat and chubby and all the cruel words that like kids can basically come into their brain. Um and like it really like it's probably stuck with me until this day in some way, shape, or form. Like obviously I've discovered the gym in the last like 7, 8 years and like I've changed my mindset on a lot of things, but there's still that kind of that hint of that going back to the early days.
Yeah, and like there are things that we're not in control. Well, there are things that are, I suppose, that just
We
happen
can
that we're
work
not
on.
necessarily, yeah, not necessarily in control of, but we do get to, I suppose, sometimes control a narrative. I was
Yeah.
talking to a parent this week who said, for the first time ever, my child has come to me and told me that she thinks her legs are fat, and she's 8 years old. So
Wow.
where did she learn? Like, where did that child develop that impression? So where
Yeah.
did they hear that? Where maybe did another child say it to them? Why is that even a topic of discussion for an 8-year-old? Like, why is that even a thing in the first place? And we can then see, I suppose, how, there's a fork in the road there where someone very, very young can hold on to that belief, and then that belief start to affect their decision making around things. Maybe around their food, maybe then certainly around their exercise. I have worked with clients in the past that, really struggle with their relationship to food and their
Yeah.
body because for that exact same thing that you were talking about there, being bullied at a very young age, getting into the gym because it was healthy at the start, it was something exciting to do, and then start to get attention because of the body that they created. And
Yeah.
that like overdrives the bullying and like how I was treated back then, and now suddenly it equals, well, my body now equals my worth. So I'm now being looked at positively because my body looks this way. When I was quote unquote fat, or when I had puppy fat, when I had like maybe a normal body that wasn't six packed, yeah,
Mm.
I was being teased and bullied. So now my motivation for exercise is always going to be centered around I need to maintain this in order to have respect from people, or for
Yeah, to
girls
be
to like
accepted.
me, to be
Yeah,
accepted. Yeah,
yeah,
and that's exactly it. And you can see how something like, for that instance, all started way back when this person at a very young age was teased for their weight, but then had no outlet, had nowhere to actually have an open discussion about that. And even the I suppose the the words, like the adult maybe, to have the words to allow that child to see it differently. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Because we talk about, oh, legs being fat, but some, like my legs are fucking massive, yeah, but
yeah.
they allow me
Yeah,
to lift significant weight. So
yeah,
we discount the positive, like, from the irrational belief, if that makes sense.
yeah. Like when I was a kid, like obviously, like I didn't have the size legs that I do now, and I used to kind of like be very conscious that my thighs were touching off each other, and I kind of equal that to I'm just a fat bastard, like, and now that I've gotten older and I've spent so much time around gyms and mindset podcasts and all that kind of stuff. Like I'm like, yeah, I got big legs, motherfucker, and
Yeah.
their thighs are going to touch off each other. That's just it, So yeah, it's mad how it can change.
But you can see, like, for example, right there, those two perspectives. There's one person who's like, oh, I have, like, my legs are fat, right? And
Yeah,
that sends them downward into, well, I don't want to be seen in public. I can't wear the clothes I want to wear now. I'm not going to go out as much. I don't really now want to
yeah,
go to the gym. You can see it all starting to go down. Whereas, like, you have the other side, and people will kind of label this as like body acceptance, but it's not the same thing. But being able to say, well, actually, my legs are fucking class. They do all these things for me. Which one sounds healthier? Like, which one is going to allow that person
mm,
to actually do more, like actually show up more, go to the gym more, like, have the social more, like, which attitude is going to allow them? And even if the legs are the same, you know what I mean? The legs can be the same,
yeah,
but it's going to allow them to actually work on their health and their behaviors around their health more than the alternative, which is, well, I'm now going to retreat because I don't like what I see.
yeah. No, I completely see where you're coming from with that, and um one thing that I see quite a lot is I suppose in more so in your commercial gyms now is the I suppose the growing bodybuilding photo shoot culture that seems to be growing within commercial gyms, especially in this country anyway. I'm sure it probably is worldwide as well, but definitely in Ireland. Um, and it's majority of the time like there's women as well doing it, but a lot of it is men. And going back to what we were saying about men, like not really um having a good outlet or feeling like they don't have a good outlet to talk about how they're feeling. They just kind of, I suppose, the gym is kind of how they talk with their body, I suppose, almost, if that makes sense. That probably not a great explanation, but um and like, from spending time around these people and kind of just learning things about the fitness industry in the past couple of years, like a lot of these individuals probably have deep rooted issues. Like there's some sort of body dysmorphia going on, or there's hopefully not, but sometimes there is mental health issues, and it's just, yeah, like I think, as you said, there was a great perception that it was mostly women that suffer with this
Mm.
issue, but it seems to be like almost a growing men thing now.
Yeah, but I think I think it's important as well not to generalize and assume that, okay,
Oh yeah, yeah,
if a male is taking part in bodybuilding, then he's got problems. Like, and again,
sure.
this is all the gray area stuff, and this is what requires the nuance. This is what requires the skill to actually, hear how people talk and be able to, see the amber flags, the red flags, and some things that people are saying. You know,
Yeah.
this comes down to like what I would describe from my coaching as cognitive distortions. So, all or nothing thinking, black and white thinking that I can't eat like, carbs after 7 o'clock at night, like
Okay.
that.
Yeah.
It's that kind of attitude. And again, this might not affect like, Joe who's doing bodybuilding, but then Tom who has maybe a history and a struggle with weight and things like that, and he's doing it, like it might start to actually affect him in a more negative way because we always, I think, in the health fitness space, we are constantly equating health to like just the, I suppose, the activity to the behavior, as in like it's going gym, it's pumping iron, it's running, it's XYZ, Z. But
Yeah.
are we talking enough about the mental side? Are we talking enough about the actual mental health element to it? I've had like podcasts. Sean Blake is a very good example. Sean Blake was on the RTE documentary around like eating disorders. And he was an avid runner. He started getting into running. It became an outlet for him. And then next minute, it was kind of all eggs in the basket. This is everything. And he developed an eating disorder. And again, I want to be really, really careful when I talk about this because I'm not making that sweeping statement that, oh, you start doing all these things, then suddenly you're on the way to an eating disorder. It's so much more complex than that. But you know that you can, it's important, I suppose, to see some of the flags, like if the gym is like someone's mecca, and they spend like breakfast, lunch, and dinner in there, and like the picture maybe that they paint of themselves is always around the gym. This is definitely me when I was younger. It was a
Mhm.
hyperfixation on this, but it really came, like, all that ultimately came down to, well, without this, I am nothing. And like that's actually just
Yeah.
that's a really scary thing. When life started getting busier for me, for example, in other ways, in family, starting my own business, like I couldn't train the way that I could. I was training like, back in the day, like 5, 6 days a week. And I had a
Yeah.
bias on that as well, by the way. Like you have coaches who will have their own biases, and you have to be wary as well, your bias as a coach and how that might influence someone negatively. Like when I was younger and I was training
Yeah.
5, 6 days a week, there was days where I couldn't get on board with the fact that other people weren't doing that as well. And I'm saying,
Mm.
why can't you fucking just train 5, 6 days a week? Like, do you mean that's a normal thing to do? I was like, well, no,
Mm.
it's just normal for you. Like, not every single person. It's not necessarily normal for them. But if someone has a difficult to coach, let's say, has that nuanced, difficult relationship with food, and they are then working with someone, and they start imprinting that impression onto that person
Yeah. Yeah.
without like having the nuance to see some of the flags of what's
Yeah.
happening. Like, and you see it, like, again, I think we minimize some of this. I talk about, like, for example, people talking about, like, oh, I was good at the weekend, and how I was bad at the
Mm.
weekend, like with food. And people might minimize that and go, that's not a big deal at all. Like, I mean, you're like, I mean, it's you like, or
Yeah.
what's the thing? You are what you eat. Like, I mean, if you eat shit, you are shit.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
it's that kind of stuff. It's like that actually will long term have a compounding effect on someone's behavior. So, like, as a coach, like if you are not well versed in that, you might end up then potentially doing more harm than good. And I just
Mm.
certainly see that, like, in my past as a coach, well, not before I was a coach, not getting on board with people, like not training as much as I was, or like
Yeah.
not eating the right, like the same amount of protein I was. It was just like, okay, like, like it's a very
Yeah.
clear, to excuse me, it's a very clear bias. That's a ramble. I don't know where I was going with that.
No, 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 absolutely. Like it's very relatable to a lot of people, especially to me. Like I was the same. People that probably knew me for the last couple of years up until maybe recently would have like kind of said like Johnny was fucking obsessed with CrossFit and the gym and went like 5, 6 days a week and was, trying to hit all the PBs, trying to get up to all the comps, and that was just, yeah, I was exactly like you, like saying, like thinking, like, why don't you just do that? I know your life is different, but you could make it work, But like now that I'm in a different phase in my own life and I don't get to to now train like that anymore, it's like, oh yeah,
Hmm. And but look,
yeah,
that's important. That's important to note as well. It mightn't be the fact that you can't get to, but it just might mean that something else is on the horizon. Do you know what I mean? That there might be
yeah,
something different for you. Like, when I started getting really busy and then I wasn't able to train as much as I wanted to, I stress was getting a lot higher as well. And I was finding it hard to access CrossFit because CrossFit, stresses your body. And it was almost like my
yeah,
stress cup was just full. And go doing a CrossFit high intensity session where your heart's in your mouth was not something that my body was asking for. And I do remember getting very annoyed at myself about that and stressed about that and just, talking to myself differently then, just being like, well, you clearly just don't give that much of a fuck, do you, if you can't show up and everyone else is showing up? So what's your problem? Like,
yeah,
that, you see how that kind of runs out, when actually
yeah,
the reality was, well, actually I just need a different form. I need a different form of exercise right now. Do you know what I mean? I need, like walking was a big one for me because it was helping my brain settle. But
yeah.
going off and doing different things, I was going out like kayaking with some clients and kayaking with Lynn. We did that in Kilkenny, and like I recently just jumped into like a dodgeball session last week
Oh,
in Waterford. I found there's a club that does dodgeball.
no way.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I was like, it's just different. It's not the same thing, and it's allowing my body to move. And really, it's all for me comes down to moving my body and having energy and feeling good, like coming away from it. And that doesn't necessarily have to be stuck in the bracket of the actual gym space. I think I'm doing paddle this week. A friend of mine does paddle, and I was like,
Oh,
yeah, fuck, I'm gonna do that. Give us a go at that. Like, that's just going to be nice, and like that's still an
yeah,
exploration of fitness and health, just because it's not in the gym. But if your whole
yeah.
life is around
Is the
the
gym?
gym,
Yeah,
it can that you start getting concerned, you start getting worried, you start talking to
yeah,
yourself, because you're not doing maybe what everyone else is doing. You're not doing, what you did on routine for XYZ, not recognizing how
yeah.
maybe your life has changed, and you're not, your perspective about that's slightly askew.
Yeah, and I think that's probably where like social media comes in as well, in that like it can be that kind of negative influence somewhat, in the sense that, like, while you're in one sense happy to see like friends and maybe family as well doing like high rocks and doing their trikers and doing lifting competitions and whatever, um, there's that part of your brain that's always like, oh wow, well, I'm not doing that, and maybe I could make time here to train, but then that's less time with family, or that's, I can't do that thing then if I commit fully to the training, and so I think, yeah, that's probably kind of a negative side of that.
Well, yeah, look, I mean, I think sometimes we just get easily lost. We get easily lost in,
Yeah,
like, I suppose what we're actually chasing, and it's like, it's the FOMO. It's like not having a
yeah,
ticket to Electric Picnic. It's that,
yeah,
but in fitness terms, it's like, oh my god, I'm missing out on like the high rocks when everyone else is doing it. And again, this comes back to like caveman times of wanting to just be part of a group, like wanting to just be part of something where we're all moving together, because being alone is scary. And we just see that,
yeah,
like, even in our own culture and society, the people that struggle with mental health and illness and, suicide rates and things like that, those people they're lonely. They don't feel part
yeah,
of something. They don't feel connected. And there's a number of reasons as to why they don't feel connected. But, you know, uh, I'm not by any means trying to equate not doing a high rocks to, depression um
yeah,
and the likes. But the idea is there really that, we feel that something is wrong if maybe we're not, if we don't, like, if everyone else is doing it and we don't feel content enough because, we're not doing the thing. So
yeah,
it's worth observing that and being like, well, actually, what do I want for myself? Like, why do I do it anyway? What's the whole point of it? Like, yeah, cool,
yeah,
I'll do a high rocks, but am I doing it because everyone else is doing it, and I want to be in the pack, and I don't want to be singled out? Or am I doing it because this is an expression of my ability, that this,
Yeah.
I like challenge. Like, I'm personally myself competitive. Like, when I did the dodgeball session last week, the guy who was helping me pulled me aside at the end, and he was like, have you done this before? And I was like, no. And he was like, you've done far better than anyone that's like beginner, that's come in, like, even in the first month, hasn't hit as many people as you have. And I'm not trying to like flex on that. It's just, it
Yeah.
fires me up. Like, I'm just so naturally competitive. Like, and that, I suppose that's why CrossFit.
I'm just picturing White Goodman in dodgeball now, just like left
Oh
and right.
man, absolutely leathering, lads. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. But like, do you know what I mean? But to be honest, like, there was so much tactic involved. There was actually more standing around than I thought there'd be. And then I was just a bit like, okay, I came here to run. I came here to like be
Yeah,
on my toes, like, and thinking at the same time. And I think that's what CrossFit did for me for so long. But yeah, like, again, like, I am like naturally competitive in that way. And that's what fuels me to do the thing, not because, like I said, like, there's so many people who wouldn't do dodgeball because, like, the idea is that, or certainly the perception is that, it's a fringe of society nerd thing to do. You know what I mean? Like, and even the movie Dodgeball, like, makes a joke of
yeah.
that. The rejects kind of thing. Like, there's loads of people who wouldn't do it, but me just
I
even
think
going.
people probably think of, when they think of like that, they might have like, the way people can kind of play Quidditch from Harry Potter, like they can that might be like in people's head on the same like level. They're
Yeah,
just like, nah, as you
it's
said,
it's not
that's
it's
not.
not it's not Ren Fair where people dress up and stuff. It's not like that.
Yeah, yeah.
There were a couple of knee pads now, and I mean,
Oh, okay.
I don't need a knee pad, like, come on. But you know what I mean, at the same time. But it's, again, it was the whole point of me going was, okay, I want to move my body, I want to sweat, I want
Yeah,
my lungs to feel like I've done something today. And I wasn't put off because it's like, it's kind of like the uncool thing to do. I was just like, no, I'm just doing this thing, I don't care. um that's important too, I think.
yeah. So you made the move a while ago into nutrition and psychological studies, I guess, is that what you would call it?
Yeah, I
What?
mean, I'm currently doing a degree in counseling and psychotherapy,
Ah,
to aid my nutrition. Yeah.
so what pushed you towards all that? Like, what pushed you from being the gym coach to this?
Um, I was doing like the gym coaching. I was doing one-to-one PT, and I had my own clients, and everyone wanted to lose weight. And I was tracking calories with people, and they were doing macros, and people were losing weight. I even had a client once before who was like actually stressed, because she had lost too much weight, like, ahead of her last like dress fitting for her wedding. And she was like, I went to
Oh,
the dress
wow.
fitting, and it was actually falling off me, and like, I was stressed. Do you know what I mean? Like, and this is something that
Yeah.
people would normally be delighted about. But all of this stuff was happening. People, like, I had I I had good business in helping people lose weight and fat loss, like, in nutrition and stuff. But I suppose what I noticed about it was that it certainly was apparent that it just wasn't actually bringing content, like, to the people that I
Yeah.
was working with, because like, they would lose 15 kilos, and the client lose 15 kilos, but it wasn't enough, and the goalpost would change,
Mm.
and I'd be like, right, we need to go lower. And excuse me. I suppose I started just being curious. I just started opening my mind up a little bit to questions, being like, well, how much is enough? Because I had my own experience of
Yeah.
that before. Like, I had my own experience with what I call, I suppose, hyper health, of being overly worried about like my health, and especially with weight when we place so much emphasis on it. So I just started getting curious about that, and I was working with a mentor at the time that was helping me with coaching, and she had brought up kind of body image stuff, and I was like, what is that? And then I started looking it up, and I started doing a course on that. Like, and then I was like, okay, this is really starting to click about, like, I suppose the psychology of, behavior, like why we do what we do and why we choose to do what we do. And if we keep losing weight and just shifting the goalposts to lose more weight and more weight, um, you know, without, I suppose, being curious as to why we're doing it. Like that was what
Yeah.
was that's where it all, the penny was kind of dropping for me, of like, all these people are losing weight as they wanted to, but they're still not happy. They're still not content
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
just having a life that like just doesn't now suddenly just stop revolving around fat loss, and they actually just start living their life and doing the things they want to do. So
Yeah.
then it was an exploration into, okay, so what's that about? And that's effectively led me to where I am today, like, working with people who, don't feel good enough in the bodies that they're in.
Yeah.
And there's also a perception as well that that only happens to fat people, that it's
Hmm.
it's people who are fat that are unhappy in their bodies, and that's why
Yeah.
they want or need to change. um I'd say 60 or 70% of the people that are in my current client roster are at, technically, according to BMI and stuff, a healthy weight, and they are in very like normal bodies, but they don't feel that way. And
Yeah.
it's about, yeah, it's that was kind of where it all kind of began for me, was seeing that stuff of, okay, how we think about ourselves then suddenly start influencing our behavior. So yeah, that's kind of
Okay.
how I ended up getting to where I am now. Yeah.
So how would you kind of explain like your clients and stuff? Like how would you explain like your role in these people's lives? Like what the ones that you work with, like what's your kind of role for them?
So right now I follow, um I suppose, a therapeutic model of uh person centered coaching. So in the therapy space, it's a very well known practice of person centered, which is placing essentially the emphasis on the actual client, the individual, and they are the autonomous one that makes the decisions going forward for themselves. You're just
Yeah.
helping them untangle what's happening in them, like in their head about this stuff, that allows them to then to make actually clear, like, concise decisions for themselves to actually better themselves to where they want to be. Because we see it like in our, like, in our day-to-day practice, I think in the health fitness space. um
Yeah.
it's where did I hear before, kind of like fast food coaching, where it's like, right, change your life in 12 weeks, have the body
Oh yeah.
that you've never thought you would have, and your
Yeah.
life, how your life is going to totally transformation almost implies that you're going to be a different person in 12 weeks time. And the only way that actually works is by the client doubling down on the behaviors that the coach tells them to do. So this is what you need
Yeah.
to do. You need to do X, Y, Z, and you need to do that now, and don't falter, and X, Y, Z, right? And like, look, you know, if you're bodybuilding, prepping, or doing something like that, and it needs to be sometimes stringent to make a weight class, or to, drop some body fat, so your physique is, in a better position. Like, yeah, look, I understand the aggression for it, but in day-to-day
Yeah.
purpose, I suppose, clientele, we're missing the nuance of their history around this, and why, this is such an important thing. And it just comes, unfortunately, it just comes down to the coaches just assuming everything first. I think, because I was in that position, was just assuming that, like, you see someone in a larger body, they need to lose weight. And like, I get
Yeah.
it. Like, there's obviously health benefits to losing weight, for people, like, depending on their health. But it does go back to the, well, we can't determine like someone's full, like, level of health just by looking at them. We're making assumptions at that point. um but going back to that thing of, well, do this, and if you don't do this, then you're fucked. Like, that was
Yeah.
that's unfortunately no one is actually learning from the experience. Like the client is not learning, they're just doing. And then they
Yeah.
get to that place and then it's like, deadly, what now? And it's like, well, you just keep running this for the rest of your life because we don't know
Yeah.
what else to do now. We don't have like what's just a
And then
normal
eventually the
relationship.
problem might go away.
Yeah, but unfortunately it never does if we don't
Yeah.
tackle the maybe the root issue. But if someone gets to where they want to be as a result of simply just tracking without actually learning the skills of just having a balanced like relationship with food, like how they can just actually eat, because what are you going to spend the rest of your life tracking for the rest of your life? Like, you know, having a
Mm.
magnifying glass on everything, like, is that going to be helpful? No. Like we need to have
Yeah.
basic food skills. So yeah, the for me, like the person centered or the client centered approach is, you know,
Yeah.
listening to their struggles, what's going
Yeah.
on for them, you know, around their body, around their food. Like how many times have you heard someone say, oh, I know what to do but I just can't do it? It's like, okay,
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
the the person who doesn't have the skills will just turn around and just go, well, you just don't want it bad enough. Or like, do you know what I mean? That you just you're
Yeah.
undisciplined or you're lazy or whatever, without then actually having, say, maybe that person centered approach of, you know, asking them open ended questions, kind of like motivational interviewing, like, you know, getting
Yeah.
them to actually
Finding their
speak
why.
more. Yeah, finding their why as to, you know, why maybe they are doing what they're doing right now, not
Okay.
necessarily finding like your God's given purpose as to, in order for you to do the thing. Do you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
not inspired to do the washing up every day. Find your why, bro. Like it's not like
Yeah.
it's not applicable. It's actually going backwards, like going almost from the inside out of learning, okay, well, why, you know, why are you struggling right now? And I suppose that's why, that's the path I'm on now, like of
Yeah.
having that skill, to develop that skill, to you know, allow, I think it's the most important part, allow my clients or the people I work with to be heard.
Yeah.
Because anyone who maybe gets involved with a plan or something, with a coach, different things like that, are, we're usually just being told to do things instead of actually just being sat and listened to, because
Hmm.
we feel so much better when we feel like we're being listened to. It's a very normal human thing.
Oh, absolutely.
um
Yeah.
yeah, and like my, like all the work that I do feels very fulfilling, because I'm, I suppose, tending to a deeper need. It's not just a surface level, you know, lose a couple of kilos, good job, high five, off you go. Like it's actually more
Yeah.
so, okay, well, what's, you know, what's stopping you from being in the position that you want to be in? You know, how are we stuck, and, you know, how can we build the self-efficacy? How can you build it? Because I'm not building it for you. The way I kind of explain it to new clients is that, like, you know, it's a driving test and I'm in the passenger seat with the fake wheel, and if you start to drive off the road, I just pull you back in. It has to
Yeah.
come, it has to come from
It's come
you.
from you. Yeah.
But at the same time, you know, I'm there, I suppose, with the skill of helping people untangle that frustration or that anger or that irrational belief. Well, I just believe then I just don't work hard. I can't. I'm not as hard working as Sam Sulek, so I'll never be like that. Do you know what I mean? It's just a
Mm.
very
Yeah.
immediately, like, you know, you might look at a body and just assume, oh well, that's a discipline thing. But we're not
Yeah.
talking also about genetics. We're not also talking about, you know, maybe performance enhancement drugs. We're not talking about, you know, like there's, like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm not calling anyone out here. This is just being very real and honest about it, that
Yeah.
there
Oh,
are
absolutely.
things, there are things, you know, that are not necessarily in our control. And how do we cope with just being okay with that? How do we cope with just being okay with suddenly sometimes just knowing, okay, like, you know, I'm putting in real work here, like, and it's not resulting in me looking like Sam Sulek, but,
Yeah.
you know, my eye is just constantly on what he looks like, and I'm a piece of shit because I don't look like that and I can't get there. Instead of actually just diverting to, well, what good work are you actually doing on yourself still? You know what I mean?
Mm.
You have to
Yeah.
have that, you know, like I think that's ultimately what it is having the person on the other side that is allowing you to shift your perspective on the perspective that is maybe not helping you right now. You know, that's a big
Yeah.
part of it.
Um, what would you say is your favorite part about what you do, or do you have a favorite part?
Um, yeah, I think the thing that I
Is
love
it
the
that whole
most.
thing of helping those people get there? Is that like you just said? Is that would that be it?
Yeah, like, helping people get there, but certainly right now, I think one of my favorite parts of my job is actually just listening, because I think
Okay. Yeah.
as a coach, like, with somebody who is struggling, we do naturally put ourselves in a higher authority. Like, we have
Yeah.
more knowledge about the subject than that person does, but that can quickly turn into, I'm going to keep saying all the things. I'm going to talk. I'm going to drop knowledge bombs here. You're going to be like, oh wow, like, and you know what I mean, that we're here, but like, just I suppose from my college work, the work that I'm doing at the minute, and learning more about, counseling and psychotherapy skills and practices, um, keeping my mouth shut and letting somebody else talk serves them, like,
Yeah.
to no end better than it ever is to just be sitting listening to people, because I think that sometimes is the part that's missing, is like the person who says, I don't know, I know everything, I know how to do it, but I just can't,
Yeah.
is because they're not maybe listening to themselves and letting them actually talk, letting them hear some of the stuff they're saying, relaying back some of the things they've said to help them go, oh yeah, oh shit, yeah, okay, yeah, I didn't see it that way. I never thought about it that way. Ah, and then they change. Like,
Yeah.
that's
Light bulb
definitely
moment.
been, yeah. And
Yeah.
but and it comes down to, there's another kind of like theory in psychology and stuff, which is like choice theory. Um Now I'll probably skew it up a bit here, but ultimately we do have the answers, like, ourselves, and we do
Yeah.
have the ability to get to where we want to. You know what I mean? We don't have to rely on others. We don't have to manipulate others to get to where we want to. Like, we can get there ourselves. We have a choice in
Mhm.
how we approach ourselves to get to where we want to be. So, like, it's similar to that, where it's all
Yeah.
focused on listening to that person.
Okay. Um, do you find like there's any particular like specific setbacks that most people face, or is it very like broad spectrum in terms of like working with you? Is it always a different scenario? Basically, is what I'm trying to say.
I suppose that's something I genuinely love about my work, is that it is different every
Yeah.
single day, every single person. Yeah, like, most people all, like, end up struggling with something similar, but the context and their life and what's going on for them is so vastly different. And, like, that's, I suppose, what makes it so exciting. But the thing that I the really the thing that I do, the thing that I see coming up all the time, um is always people's negative attitude towards themselves. But, you know, that's not, that's a learned behavior. That's not something we're born with, that we have a negative attitude towards ourselves. And primarily it's due to the fact that the body that they have is not deemed acceptable by the society they live in. So that's, what
Okay.
I see, like, so much. Like, I have a client who has lost, like, plenty of weight, feels better, moves better, better energy, doesn't drink coffee anymore because he doesn't need it, stress down massively, still not happy because of his stomach. His stomach, apparently, well, I don't mean apparently, that sounds disrespectful, but because I work with these people online, I don't
Yeah.
see them all the time, but
Yeah.
that person feels that their stomach hasn't actually reduced. And the real question there is, well, everything else is so good, but we're still fixated on this one part of our body. What does that body part of them represent? They were teased about it all the time when they were a kid. So you can see then how, like, this client is really not ever going to move forward, because even though everything else has improved and everything else is better, yeah, it's the
Yeah.
attitude. It's the attitude and the belief that they have, that they've learned. And it takes just unlearning and seeing it differently. That's, I
Yeah.
think, is the thing that always shows up.
Yeah. Okay. Steve, I won't keep you too much longer, man, because I'm conscious you have to go soon. So
Mhm.
I just have like one or two more things to just ask you, and if we get them in, great. If we don't, it's no big deal. Um, the first one is, so it was mainly kind of fitness, but we've kind of been talking about nutrition as well, so I'm going to throw that in there. So what do you think of the current state of the fitness industry slash nutrition industry as a whole?
Jesus, do you want another podcast? Fuck.
Yeah. We may need
Um,
to do one on that. Yeah, we can come back to it.
um,
So we can,
Yeah, look, I mean,
yeah,
to
explore more.
keep it really, really brief, I think there are some incredibly positive things that are happening in the space, but I sometimes kind of imagine it like a seesaw that is tipping in the right direction, but then is actually swinging like in down the other way. So like if it's like this and we're now like doing more health things and we're getting healthier, deadly, but it's actually, I feel, starting to tip the other way into what I kind of coined earlier of hyper health, where
Yeah,
we're too observant, we're too worried, we're fixating, like, like the narrative on, like, on podcasts around nutrition at the minute is that sugar, like a fruit is going to kill you. Do you know what I mean? If you like, we've gotten to that level, we've gotten to this level of
yeah,
like, the basics, the things that we need to do in our every single day are just not sexy enough, that we need to hype it, we need to say something crazy in order to gain
yeah,
attention. So now suddenly things that are actually good for us, in terms of fiber and vitamins and minerals and all those things, they're going to kill
yeah,
you. Like, they're actually killing you. There's no nuance to that. That's rage based. Do you know what I mean? So like we
yeah,
are tipping, but again, it's the people, it's the influencers that go into supermarkets and highlight,
yeah, yeah.
things in
Just
meals,
for
talking.
likes and clicks.
But again, a person
I
went
mean, I
into a
could say that
supermarket.
too, I guess.
No, but I think there's a difference, I think, around the ethics of that. Like, do you know what I mean? It's like
Yeah, yeah,
doing the things that you do without actually considering the knock-on effect of what you are doing. Like
yeah.
an influencer went in and picked up like one of them, like protein meals, the Fit Food company or whatever,
Oh,
and like
yeah, yeah,
and flipped it over, and I was like, this has dextrose in it. Like, do you know what I mean? That's linked to cancer. And it's like, well, actually, there's only, like, dextrose. Okay, first of all, it's a sugar, but not only that, there's only 1 gram in the whole thing. But
yeah.
that wasn't said. Like, that wasn't said,
Ah,
and
yeah.
like,
There's just
you know,
extra.
but again, like that 1 gram like of dextrose is you pissing into the Atlantic Ocean. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
How, like, there's so much nuance there missing. But that's, I think, where we're tipping towards. We're tipping towards this hyper health thing of overly fixating on it. And, like, how does that knock on? How does that actually benefit somebody? Um,
yeah,
that's the caveat, I suppose. It's great. It's great that we're all out. We're all maybe moving more. We're thinking about our health more. Deadly. But there are people who I think are profiting from that thinking, and,
yeah,
you know, in ways, I think, that are unethical and not helpful. So, the work that I do with my clients um aims to, I suppose, balance that out a bit. I like going
yeah,
to schools. I go to schools and talk to like do workshops, like 6 week long workshops with teenagers who are like 15, 16 years old. Because there's evidence there that supports the theory that if you have an early intervention around body image and awareness of what it is and how it works, that it's going to get younger people to start thinking twice about that stuff, about themselves. But, like, I mean, if they don't have the guidance, that child who thinks their legs are fat, like, there's parts of the workshop that, talk about that stuff, like how, what distortion that is, and how can we actually speak to ourselves differently about that stuff. It's an early intervention. That's, I suppose, my contribution, I think, to
okay,
where we are with health and fitness. Get involved, but there's just so much out there right now that
yeah.
it's probably sending us sometimes backwards, not forwards.
Yeah, I think we'll definitely have to have another discussion about that.
Right. Okay. Right.
Yeah. I'm just gonna wrap it up there, Steve. As I said,
Sure.
I'm conscious you have to get going. It's been great chatting to you, my man.
Yeah.
Um, just before you head off, where can people find you if they want to get in touch with you or work with you or? just follow your content.
Yeah. You can throw in the show notes maybe. Instagram, Steven Lafford Coaching. That's where I am. I have a newsletter. If you like go to my link, you get to my newsletter. I talk about a lot of this stuff, as well as drop worksheets and skills and things that people can actively be doing to help them get into a better place. Yeah, that's I also have a podcast as well, but it's a little bit quiet because life is really busy and there's other things happening. So, but yeah, and that's called the Body Image Basic. You can look that up. But
Awesome.
that is, yeah, that's where you can find me.
Deadly. I will leave your links in the description when I upload this. But yeah, Steve, thank you so much, man. I'm just gonna stop the recording. We might have just a small chat afterwards. But yeah, other
Off
than that,
air, off air.
off air, behind the scenes,
Yeah, look,
BTS.
thank you so much for having me, and yeah, we'll speak to you soon.
Thanks, dude.